Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you found us. And if you've been with me for a while, thank you for being here again. Today we're diving into something that affects literally every single one of us: anger. And I know what you might be thinking. Oh, great. Another self help talk about staying calm. But here's the thing: this isn't about pretending you never get angry or becoming some Zen master who floats above human emotion. This is about understanding what anger actually is, why it shows up in our lives, and most importantly, how to work with it instead of letting it control us. I've been wanting to do this episode for a while because anger is one of those emotions we all experience, but nobody really teaches us how to handle it properly. We either suppress it until we explode, or we let it out in ways that damage our relationships and leave us feeling worse. So today we're going to explore a better way. Over the next hour, we'll talk about the science behind anger, the real reasons it shows up, practical strategies you can use immediately, and some deeper work you can do to transform your relationship with this powerful emotion. So get comfortable, maybe grab a coffee or tea, and let's dive in. Part 1: Understanding Anger. Let's start with the basics. What actually is anger? At its core, anger is a survival emotion. It's part of our fight or flight response that's been with humans since we lived in caves. When we perceive a threat, whether it's physical danger or a threat to our ego, our values, or our sense of fairness, our brain triggers this emotional response. Here's what happens in your body when you get angry. Your amygdala, that almond shaped part of your brain responsible for processing emotions, detects a threat. It sends a distress signal to your hypothalamus, which is like your brain's command center. Your hypothalamus then activates your sympathetic nervous system, releasing stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises, your muscles tense up, and blood flow is redirected to your major muscle groups. You're literally being prepared to fight or run away. Now, here's the interesting part: your brain can't really tell the difference between a physical threat and a psychological one. So, whether someone's attacking you with a weapon or just cutting you off in traffic, your body responds similarly. That's why road rage is a thing, right? Your ancient brain is treating that guy who didn't use his turn signal like he's a predator trying to eat you. But anger isn't just about threats. It's often a secondary emotion, meaning there's usually something else underneath it. Maybe you're actually feeling hurt, scared, vulnerable, disrespected, or powerless. Anger feels safer than these other emotions because it gives us a sense of control and power. It's easier to feel angry at your boss than to admit you feel inadequate or scared of losing your job. It's easier to get angry at your partner than to say, I feel neglected and I'm scared you don't love me anymore. I want to be clear about something important here. Anger itself isn't bad. It's not a character flaw. It's information. Anger tells us that something matters to us, that a boundary has been crossed, that something feels unjust or threatening. The problem isn't the emotion, it's what we do with it. Think about it like this: if you put your hand on a hot stove, pain tells you to move your hand. The pain isn't the problem, it's the messenger. Same with anger, it's trying to tell you something. The question is, are you listening to the message or are you just reacting to the feeling? Part 2: Why we struggle with anger. So, if anger is natural and serves a purpose, why do so many of us struggle with it? First, there's how we were raised. Many of us got mixed messages about anger growing up. Maybe you were told don't be angry or calm down or there's nothing to be upset about. Or maybe you saw adults in your life handle anger poorly through yelling, violence, or complete shutdown. We learned either that anger is dangerous and needs to be suppressed, or that it's an acceptable way to get what you want and control others. Neither of these approaches is healthy, but they're what many of us absorbed. And now, as adults, we're either walking around like pressure cookers, ready to explode, or we're exploding over every little thing because we never learned regulation. There's also the cultural piece. Some cultures view anger as a sign of passion or strength, while others see it as a complete loss of control and a source of shame. Gender plays a role too. Men are often socialized to express anger more freely while suppressing other emotions like sadness or fear. Women, on the other hand, are often taught that anger is unladylike or bitchy, so they suppress it until it comes out as passive aggression or turns inward as depression. Then there's modern life, which is basically designed to keep us in a low level state of stress and irritation. We're overstimulated, overworked, underrested, and constantly bombarded with information. Our nervous systems are shot. Add in traffic, financial stress, relationship challenges, political divisions, social media comparison, and 1,000 daily annoyances. And it's no wonder we're all walking around with short fuses. And here's something most people don't realize: unprocessed anger doesn't just disappear, it goes somewhere. Sometimes it turns into anxiety or depression. Sometimes it manifests as physical health problems, headaches, digestive issues, muscle tension, high blood pressure. Sometimes it seeps out as passive aggressive behavior, sarcasm, or chronic criticism. And sometimes it just sits there, accumulating, until something relatively minor triggers a disproportionate reaction. You know that moment when you absolutely lose it over something small? Like your partner leaves dishes in the sink and suddenly you're having a complete meltdown? That's not really about the dishes. That's about 6 months of accumulated frustration finally finding an outlet. The other reason we struggle is that anger feels terrible, but it also feels kind of good. It gives us energy, it makes us feel righteous and justified, it creates a sense of certainty in an uncertain world. There's actually a part of us that doesn't want to let it go. Being angry can become a habit, even an identity. Some people are so used to being angry that they don't know who they'd be without it. Part 3: The Cost of Unmanaged Anger. Let's talk about what happens when we don't address our anger effectively. The most obvious cost is to our relationships. Chronic anger damages trust and intimacy. When people have to walk on eggshells around you, when they're afraid of triggering an outburst, when conflicts always escalate instead of resolve, that erodes connection. Even if you don't yell or get physically aggressive, chronic irritability, criticism, and defensiveness push people away. I've seen relationships end not because of one big blowup, but because of years of small moments where anger shut down communication and created distance. Your partner stops sharing things with you because they don't want to deal with your reaction. Your kids start hiding parts of their lives. Your friends stop inviting you to things because you're always complaining or starting arguments. Then there's the impact on your health. Chronic anger is terrible for your body. Studies have linked it to increased risk of heart disease, stroke, weakened immune function, and even shorter lifespan. When you're frequently angry, your body is constantly in that stress response state. Your cortisol levels stay elevated, inflammation increases, and your cardiovascular system takes a beating. It's like running your car engine at maximum RPMs all the time. Eventually, something's going to break. There's also the mental health component. Unmanaged anger is associated with depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. People often use alcohol or other substances to numb their anger or to cope with the guilt and shame they feel after anger episodes. It becomes a vicious cycle. And let's talk about the opportunity cost. How much time and energy do you spend being angry, ruminating about what someone said, replaying conflicts in your head, staying up at night furious about something that happened? That's time and energy you could be spending on literally anything else. Pursuing your goals, enjoying your hobbies, connecting with people you love, or just being at peace. Anger also affects your judgment and decision making. When you're in an angry state, the thinking part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, basically goes offline. You're operating from your emotional brain, which means you're more likely to make impulsive decisions you'll regret later. How many emails have you sent in anger that you wish you could take back? How many things have you said to people you love that you can't unsay? The cost is huge, but here's the good news. You can change your relationship with anger. It takes work, but it's absolutely possible. Part 4: Immediate Strategies for Managing Anger. All right, let's get practical. What can you actually do in the moment when you feel anger rising? The first and most important thing is to create space between the trigger and your response. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps, wrote this beautiful line: between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That space is everything. So, how do you create it? Technique number one: the pause. When you feel yourself getting angry, literally pause. Stop talking. Stop moving. Just pause for 5 seconds. In those 5 seconds, take a deep breath. This simple act interrupts the automatic reaction pattern and gives your prefrontal cortex a chance to come back online. Technique number two: physical distance. If you're in a heated situation, remove yourself. Say, "I need a minute," or "let me step outside for a second," and physically leave the space. This isn't running away, it's being responsible. You're preventing yourself from saying or doing something you'll regret. Just make sure you actually come back to address the issue once you've calmed down. Technique number three: the breath. I know, everyone talks about breathing, but there's a reason for that. It works. When you're angry, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Deliberately slowing your breath down sends a signal to your nervous system that you're safe. Try this. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, breathe out for 6 counts. Do this at least 5 times. The longer exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which calms you down. Technique number four: name it to tame it. This is based on research by neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman. Simply labeling your emotion, "I'm feeling angry right now," reduces activity in the amygdala and increases activity in the prefrontal cortex. You're literally engaging the thinking part of your brain by putting words to the feeling. You can take this further. "I'm feeling angry because I feel disrespected," or "I'm feeling angry, but underneath that, I'm actually scared." Technique number five: the stop technique. This stands for stop, take a breath, observe, proceed. Stop what you're doing, take a breath, observe what's happening in your body, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, then proceed mindfully with whatever you choose to do next. Technique number six: physical release. Sometimes you need to do something with that adrenaline and cortisol flooding your system. Go for a run, do some push-ups, punch a pillow, go to the gym. Just don't punch walls or throw things. That can actually reinforce the anger pattern and make it more likely you'll do it again. Technique number seven: the reframe. This is about questioning your interpretation of the situation. You're angry because of the story you're telling yourself about what happened. What if there's another interpretation? That person who cut you off might be rushing to the hospital. Your partner who snapped at you might be dealing with something at work. Your friend who canceled plans might be struggling with their mental health. I'm not saying you have to excuse bad behavior, but often softening your interpretation softens your anger. Technique number eight: the timer method. Give yourself permission to be angry, but set a timer. Tell yourself, "I'm going to be angry about this for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to let it go and decide what to do next." This works because you're not suppressing the emotion, but you're also not letting it run the show indefinitely. Here's what doesn't work: trying to push the anger down and pretend it's not there. That's just creating a time bomb. Also, venting in the moment, like yelling or ranting, often makes things worse, not better. Research shows that letting it all out can actually strengthen the anger neural pathways in your brain, making you more likely to blow up in the future. Part 5: deeper work, understanding your anger patterns. Now let's go deeper. Managing anger in the moment is crucial, but if you really want to overcome anger, you need to understand your patterns. Start by getting curious about your anger. Keep an anger journal for a couple weeks. When you get angry, write down what happened, what you were thinking, what you were feeling underneath the anger, how intense it was on a scale of 1 to 10, and how you responded. After a couple weeks, look for patterns. What are your common triggers? For some people, it's feeling disrespected or dismissed. For others, it's feeling controlled or trapped. For others, it's injustice or things being unfair. For some, it's feeling incompetent or inadequate. Your triggers are usually related to your core wounds and unmet needs. Let me give you an example. Let's say you consistently get angry when people are late. On the surface, You might think they're being inconsiderate. But if you dig deeper, maybe what's really happening is you're feeling like your time isn't valued, which triggers an old wound about not being important or not mattering. Or maybe you're someone who's very controlling because you feel anxious when things are unpredictable, and lateness triggers that anxiety, which comes out as anger. Understanding this doesn't excuse the person being late, but it helps you understand why you're having such a strong reaction. And when you understand that, you can address the real issue instead of just reacting to the surface trigger. Another thing to explore: what did you learn about anger growing up? How did the adults in your life handle it? What messages did you receive? Often we're unconsciously repeating patterns we learned or rebelling against them. If your dad exploded over everything, you might have sworn you'd never be like that, but then find yourself doing the exact same thing. Or maybe you went the opposite direction and suppressed everything because you saw how destructive his anger was. Also, pay attention to your physical state. When are you more likely to get angry? Many people find they're more irritable when they're hungry, tired, stressed, or physically uncomfortable. This is basic stuff, but it matters. If you're consistently sleep deprived, running on caffeine, skipping meals, and not exercising, you're going to have a much shorter fuse. Taking care of your physical health is anger management. And here's a big one: what are you not addressing in your life? Often, chronic anger is a sign that something needs to change. Maybe you're in the wrong job, or your relationship isn't working, or you're carrying around old resentments, or you're living in a way that's not aligned with your values. Anger is trying to tell you something. Are you listening? Sometimes the deeper work means addressing old trauma. If you experienced abuse, neglect, betrayal, or other significant wounds, those can create hair trigger anger responses. That might mean working with a therapist who specializes in trauma. There's no shame in that. In fact, it's one of the bravest things you can do. Part 6: Communication and Conflict Resolution. Let's talk about expressing anger in healthy ways, because suppressing it isn't the answer either. Healthy anger expression is about being assertive without being aggressive. It's about standing up for yourself and setting boundaries while respecting the other person. Here's a framework that helps. Use I statements instead of you statements. Instead of, "You always ignore me," try, "I feel hurt when I don't hear back from you." Instead of, "You're so irresponsible," try, "I feel frustrated when plans change at the last minute." This is huge because you statements put people on the defensive, while I statements share your experience without attacking. Be specific about the behavior, not attacking the person's character. "You left dishes in the sink again" is about behavior. "You're such a slob" is character assassination. The first one can be addressed, the second one just creates defensiveness and hurt. Express what you need, not just what you're angry about. "I need more communication from you" is more productive than just, "I'm angry that you don't text me back." People can actually do something with a clear need. Choose the right time and place. Don't ambush someone with a serious conversation when they just walked in the door from work or when you're both exhausted. Say, "I need to talk to you about something important. When's a good time?" And don't have important conversations via text or email if you can avoid it. Tone gets lost, things get misinterpreted, and it's too easy to fire off something you'll regret. Listen as much as you talk. When you're angry, you want to be heard, right? The other person feels the same way. Actually listen to their perspective, even if you disagree. You don't have to agree with someone to understand where they're coming from. Take responsibility for your part. Even if someone else did something wrong, you're responsible for your response. If you yelled, apologize for yelling, even if they triggered it. If you said something hurtful, own that. This isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about integrity. Know when to agree to disagree. Sometimes you're not going to see eye to eye, and that's okay. You can still respect each other and move forward. Not every conflict needs a winner and loser. And here's something important. Timing matters for processing your anger too. If something made you angry, you don't have to address it immediately. It's actually better to calm down first. Give yourself an hour, a day, whatever you need to cool off and get clear about what you actually want to communicate. Then address it when you're calm and can think clearly. Also, pick your battles. Not everything needs to be addressed. Sometimes people do annoying things and you can just let it go. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week, in a month, in a year? If not, maybe let it slide. One more thing about communication: apologize when you mess up. If your anger got the better of you and you said or did something hurtful, apologize sincerely. I'm sorry I yelled at you. That wasn't okay. I was frustrated about X, but taking it out on you wasn't right. I'm working on handling my anger better. That's a real apology, not I'm sorry you got upset or I'm sorry but you. Those aren't apologies. Those are deflections. Part 7: Long Term Transformation. All right, we're in the home stretch. Let's talk about the long game, actually transforming your relationship with anger over time. First, develop a regular practice for managing stress. This is preventive medicine for anger. That might be meditation, yoga, regular exercise, time in nature, journaling, creative hobbies, whatever works for you. The point is to have practices that keep your baseline stress level down and help you regulate your nervous system. Meditation specifically is incredibly helpful. It trains you to observe your thoughts and emotions without immediately reacting to them. You learn that you are not your emotions. You're the awareness that notices emotions. There are tons of apps and free resources for this. Even just 5 minutes a day makes a difference. Build self-compassion. A lot of anger, especially anger at ourselves, comes from harsh self-judgment. We make a mistake and we're brutal to ourselves. We don't meet our own standards and we beat ourselves up. Learning to talk to yourself like you would a good friend is transformative. When you notice that harsh inner voice, pause and ask, would I talk to someone I love this way? What would I say to a friend in this situation? Work on forgiveness. I don't mean condoning bad behavior or staying in toxic situations. I mean releasing the grip that resentment has on you. Holding on to anger at someone who wronged you is like drinking poison and expecting them to die. It hurts you way more than it hurts them. Forgiveness is for you, not for them. It's deciding that you're not going to let what happened continue to have power over your present. Develop empathy. When you can understand where other people are coming from, not excuse their behavior, but understand it, it's harder to stay angry. Everyone's fighting battles you don't know about. That difficult coworker might be going through a divorce. That grumpy cashier might be dealing with chronic pain. That reckless driver might have just gotten devastating news. Again, understanding doesn't mean accepting mistreatment, but it softens the anger. Get your needs met in healthy ways. A lot of anger comes from unmet needs. If you need more connection, quality time, recognition, autonomy, or whatever else, find healthy ways to get those needs met instead of expecting people to read your mind or getting angry when they don't. Question your shoulds. Byron Katie has this great work where she encourages people to question their thoughts. When you're angry, you're usually thinking some version of, this shouldn't be happening, or they shouldn't have done that. But it is happening, and they did do that. Reality is reality. Fighting with reality causes suffering. This doesn't mean you have to like it or accept ongoing mistreatment, but accepting that something happened is the first step to deciding what to do about it. Celebrate your progress. Change is hard, and it's not linear. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to blow up when you wanted to stay calm. You're going to fall back into old patterns. That's part of the process. Don't let that discourage you. Notice the times you do better. Notice when you pause instead of reacting, when you communicate effectively instead of lashing out, when you let something go instead of ruminating on it. Those are wins. Part 8: When to seek professional help. Before we wrap up, let's talk about when professional help is a good idea. If your anger is causing significant problems in your relationships, at work, or with the law, that's a sign you need support. If you're getting physically aggressive, hitting, throwing things, breaking objects, physically intimidating people, you need to work with someone immediately. That's not a character flaw. That's a learned pattern that can be unlearned, but you need help. If you've tried managing your anger on your own and it's not getting better, don't suffer unnecessarily. There are therapists who specialize in anger management. They can help you understand the roots of your anger and develop personalized strategies. If your anger is related to trauma, PTSD, or other mental health conditions, you definitely need professional support. A good trauma informed therapist can help you process what happened and develop healthier coping mechanisms. If you're using substances to cope with your anger, or if your anger is leading to suicidal thoughts, please reach out for help immediately. You can call a crisis line, go to an emergency room, or contact a mental health professional. There's absolutely no shame in getting help. It's actually the strong, wise thing to do. You wouldn't try to do your own dental surgery, right? Sometimes we need experts to help us with the internal stuff, too. All right, friends, we've covered a lot of ground today. Let's recap the key points. Anger is a natural emotion that serves a purpose. It's information about what matters to us and what feels threatening. The problem isn't the emotion itself, it's how we respond to it. Managing anger is partly about immediate techniques, pausing, breathing, creating space, reframing, and partly about deeper work, understanding your patterns, addressing old wounds, and changing your relationship with the emotion. Healthy anger expression means being assertive without being aggressive, using I statements, being specific, and actually listening to others. Long term transformation comes from regular stress management practices, self compassion, forgiveness, empathy, and questioning the thoughts that fuel your anger. And remember, this is a journey, not a destination. You're not trying to never feel angry again. You're learning to work with anger in a healthier way. Some days will be better than others, and that's completely okay. If you take away one thing from this episode, let it be this: you have more power than you think. That moment between trigger and response, that's where your freedom lives. You can learn to expand that moment to choose your response instead of just reacting. And when you do that, everything changes. Thanks so much for spending this hour with me. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, you're not alone in this. We're all figuring this out together. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next episode.